Welcome to part 2 of this presentation of my feedback project at Rockingham General Hospital Emergency Department. In part 1, I gave some background to this project and communicated the results from the staff feedback survey. In this part, I'll introduce the feedback tool and plan for trialling it in the emergency department over the next few weeks. Part 3 is a summary of effective feedback technique and introduces the concept of feedback literacy. We've seen already that this is an extremely complex issue with highly varied opinions and differing levels of confidence and skill. There's unlikely to be one single solution, but I wanted to see if it was possible to change practice in our department in a way in which we could all benefit. Based on my reading of feedback literature and your responses to the survey, I've designed a feedback tool. The aim is to increase our confidence and skill at giving and receiving effective informal feedback by providing a structured framework for feedback conversations. This is the tool. It's designed as an adjunct to informal feedback and based on the McKinsey & Company 3-step structure. On the left is your objective observation of a behaviour. The middle column is your subjective judgment of that observation. And on the right is your specific recommendation for development. A memory aid at the top right of the Stanford model of feedback can be used if required to give additional structure for the recommendations section of the discussion. It's two-way, designed to give assistance to those giving feedback and those receiving that feedback, but also to those requesting feedback about their own performance. The expectation is that this tool should facilitate a 3 to 5 minute discussion at a time convenient to both parties. You should discuss a maximum of 3 observations during each encounter, as it's not designed to replace the in-depth performance discussion we have with our clinical supervisors or formal peer reviews. For example, say you wanted to give me feedback after I led a cardiac arrest presentation in recess. You'd approach me and we'd agree a time and place. If possible, I would reflect on my performance before we start this conversation using the reverse of this form, which I'll show in a moment. Together, we would then use the tool to help structure our feedback conversation. So this is the reverse of the tool. If you approach a colleague to request feedback on your own performance, it's your responsibility as the learner to reflect first before the discussion. The back of the tool is used for this purpose, and then these comments will inform and assist the person giving the feedback. This is where the forms are located, in our doctor's handover room just inside the door. The recipient of the feedback is responsible for making a copy for their own reference. Then the original is posted in the feedback postbox so that I can study the use of the tool during this trial. The plan is to run a pilot trial of the tool for at least 6 weeks, starting from Wednesday, the 20th of November until the new year. I'll then study the use and response to the tool during this time and resurvey our staff with the original questions in regards to confidence, effectiveness, and frequency of feedback. This video has been distributed to all of the ED consultants, nurse practitioners, registrars, RMOs, and interns. I hope for promotion of the tool by non-clinical staff, and that especially senior staff will lead by example and use the tool to request informal feedback up and down our hierarchy. I anticipate those who feel confident in their feedback technique already may resent using this tool. I would encourage you to see the process as not necessarily to assist you, but to help those you teach to make the best use of the feedback you give them. During registrar teaching recently, we practiced using the tool in pairs, giving and receiving feedback about our performance in making paper aeroplanes. I found this a useful, non-ego-threatening way to introduce and familiarise ourselves with the tool. Perhaps you could try it out with another non-medical skill to see how it works for you. In part 3, we will briefly remind ourselves about good, effective feedback technique and the concept of feedback literacy.